Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Ram Saunders, Bengal Tiger, hot yoga. That's what we're going to talk about today. That's a Bikram studio in Colchester. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's perfect, yeah.
Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You know, people, they know the term yoga. Maybe there's people that do yoga on a regular basis, but let's give a definition first of yoga, and then we're going to get into your area of specialty, which is the hot yoga. But what is yoga in general?
Yoga in general is a connection of the body and the mind. It's a practice, it's a physical practice, but it's also spiritual, it's mental. It transcends, you meditate during the process of yoga. And it's all-encompassing. You know, it's internal, your organs, your skin, your muscles, everything you can think of.
So for people who have never done it before, who think you just get on a mat and bend your body a little bit, it's so much more than that, isn't it?
It is, but it isn't. You know, that's really the mentality you need to come in the door with, is you have to come in and just decide you're going to do what you can do and do the best you can, and each day is a new adventure. You know, you always get the benefits and the rewards from it, but you just have to be okay with stepping out of your comfort zone and walking into the room for the first time.
And that is probably the toughest part. For anyone who thinks yoga is difficult, you know, it's always the toughest part is going in for the first time, right?
Yeah.
Because then once you go in and you get it and you start to understand it, and I would imagine that you would say that for anyone who participates in a class of yours, you don't have to start out as an expert. You can go at your own pace, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, our particular yoga, Bikram yoga, is from Hatha yoga. Hatha yoga is 5,000 years old. Yeah, and it's Hatha yoga is 84 postures, and Bikram yoga is 26 of the 84 postures put in a sequence. Each posture is designed to prepare your body for the next posture and so on, to safely and securely get you through each one to avoid injury. So walking in the room for the first time, there's all skill levels in there. It's always the same class. It never changes. What changes is you and your body as you go. So there might be someone in the room that's there for their very first class. There might be somebody in the room that's been practicing for 12 years, and there's everybody in between. My 10-year-old daughter might be in there. There might be an 80-year-old person in there.
But it's okay if someone can't keep up with others in the class.
Absolutely, and that's what we encourage. We encourage people to be good to themselves. We encourage them to rest. We encourage them to concentrate on breathing. We have a specific type of breathing in there. And yeah, just be good to themselves. Each day is a new adventure in your life. You know, you can't come in with any expectations because you haven't lived that day before. So you just do what you can do.
And how about people, and this is what they'll say, well, I'm not in shape to be able to do yoga. And that same argument is made going to the gym. Well, I'm not in shape. Well, you have to start. You start out at the gym, you may be one shape, but if you go for a while, you go to yoga class, or, you know, you change, you become, your ability changes, you improve, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Each day. Something new happens, you know, you have new revelations as you go. That's the rewarding thing about it. Students come up all the time and they're like, you know, it could be something as, oh my gosh, I haven't been able to tie my shoes without losing my breath. Or, you know, today's the first day I walked up the stairs and I realized I wasn't out of breath when I got there. You know, anything and everything. You know, we suffer from a lot of chronic things in our lives. You know, we've all had our accidents, our sicknesses, our ailments, you know, and we all have stuff that we have to work through.
And that's why, you know, this hot yoga, it's not just about the physical aspect of it, but it's what's going on mentally, psychologically too, right?
Yeah, it's, you know, I'm not going to lie, it's hard. You're peeling away the layers of the onion. You're looking at yourself in the mirror.
And not physically, but, you know, psychologically,
Psychologically,
right?
Yeah. You know, it's kind of raw. You're suffering. You're looking at yourself when you're not at your best. You know, and that's what we encourage. You know, it's just you, even though you may be surrounded by people in the room, it's really just about you and the person that's staring back at you in the mirror while you're trying to do the best you can in there.
Let me talk about you. I want to know about your background. How'd you get into this? You mentioned you were in the military, right?
I was.
So did that lead you into what you're doing now, or is there a long story in between there?
Well, indirectly it led me in. I was an MP in the Army in the 80s. You know, I was stationed in Europe and in the United States, and then I was in the National Guard. While I was in the National Guard, I got deployed in the first Gulf War with military police out to Saudi Arabia. It was in Kuwait and Iraq. But I came back with a lot of the chronic stuff that people came back with. You know, I had Gulf War syndrome, you know, which is very gray area, you know, chronic joint pain, muscle fatigue, onset migraine, vomiting, things like that. stuff that nobody can put a thumb on, you know, when you try to go
no matter
to
how many
VA
doctors you go to.
Yeah, you go, you know, and, you know, people try to help the best they can, but there's nothing real visual about it, you know. So I suffered from a lot of those things, and it was wearing me down. I was on a lot of medications, you know, kept seeing doctors for all these things that nobody could quite figure out. And I had high dose blood pressure medicine. My initial diagnosis, I was 200 over 110. I had acid reflux very badly. Water would give me
Did all this
heartburn.
happen because you were?
It all, you don't know, but it was all post-Gulf War
Right.
stuff that started to accumulate over the course of time, and I think a lot of it was related, especially the chronic fatigue, the joint pain, the onset migraines, because that was all stuff I never ever had before. Actually, none of these other things were either. You know, I had Ambien to help me sleep. I was on antidepressants for all the sleeping and the chronic pain, and I needed to find something. And
Yeah, you needed to get away from the drugs and
Yeah.
something more natural.
Stop,
right?
yeah, stop masking everything
Yeah.
and try to come to a solution. And I started a journey that involved a lot of things that eventually led me to the yoga. And I went into class and took my first class, and the girl at the counter who was giving me the breakdown on it, she said, just go in there, it's 90 minutes, it's hot, breathe.
Did you jump right to the hot stuff before you
Yeah,
did
it was the
regular?
first class I ever took.
So you didn't even, you skipped over regular yoga.
We had a
Yeah.
doctor friend who said, you should go try this. And so I was like, all right, I'm in. I'll go try it. You know, I'll try anything once. And it was funny because she gave me this whole pep talk, and I was very polite about the process. And I said, I go, oh, yeah, okay, thanks for the helping on the inside. I was thinking, you don't have any idea how bad I am. I'm fine. This is yoga.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
right.
I suffered
I
immensely.
was in the Gulf War.
I was
Yeah.
in the Gulf War, yeah.
Yeah.
I suffered immensely.
In the class.
In the class.
Yeah.
I suffered immensely.
Now, when you say suffered, what do you mean? Like bending and
Fatigue,
Yeah.
just my balance was horrible. I couldn't keep up. I was out of breath. My heart was pounding.
But don't a lot of people start that way when they go in?
Everybody
right?
starts that way, you know.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't want to say everybody, but yeah, you know, part of it was fueled by my ego.
Right.
You know,
I could do this.
I can do this,
Yeah.
and even though I had no idea what was coming next, you know, when you go in there and you're a little bit better with your ego than I was, then it becomes a little bit easier for you. I always joke with my students now. I have new students every day, and I say to them, I say, you know, you're having a better first class than I had. And then the other day I was joking. I go, you know, I've had thousands of new students, and it's just dawned on me that everybody has had a better first class than I've had. But I walked out of that first class, and I felt relief in parts of my body that I forgot how they were supposed to feel when they were normal. And that's what got me back in the door again. I bought a 10-day introduction thinking I wouldn't be back in those 10 days because summer vacation was starting for my girls. And I went 8 times in that first 10 days.
Because after you got over the initial, oh, this hurts, this is rough, can't keep my balance. Yeah. You said, I got to go back.
I got to go back.
Right. So much so that you ended up, you know, at this point now, open up your own place, right?
I knew that first day, even though I was suffering, that I wanted to teach. And because I did feel so good. And I knew so many people that I was in the Gulf War with, and just people in general that suffer.
I want to stay on that topic for a second because since you were in the Gulf War, you are a veteran. You know, you advocate helping veterans even in your classes too. If you could be helped, you discovered, then they can be helped too. So you advocate, and if veterans want to get involved, hot yoga could be their answer.
Absolutely. Right? I offer extreme discounts for active duty, retired, and former, which has always been one of my
pet peeves
one of my
about
pet
other
peeves,
places.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because you know, there's men and women out there that have done multiple tours of duty, you know, over in combat situations that aren't considered veterans because they didn't retire or they're not active anymore, and that's always been preposterous to me. So you know, former military, active, they all get 50% discounts when they come and they join. If you're combat wounded, you don't ever pay me. You just come and you take class.
Nice.
We can provide you with some sort of relief. I guarantee it. If you are, I mean, even to the point of where you are disabled or you can't sit, you have to, or you can't stand, you have to sit in a chair or maybe on crutches or a wheelchair or something. We can start with that.
Have there been a fair amount of veterans who have taken you up on your offers? Are you getting the word out? Because that's the big thing right off the bat, right?
Yeah, I'm not getting as many of the combat wounded as I'd like.
They got to know about it, you know.
They've got to know about it,
bit.
and this will help.
Yeah.
The few that I've had, I had one who came to me, and he actually met a woman in line at the VA hospital in Bridgeport, which is nowhere near me. I don't even know who the woman was, and she told him he had to come and see me. which was very heartwarming to me. And the conversation I had with this man, he's only been to the studio a couple times. He pops in every now and then, but the conversation I had with him after that first class, it dawned on me I was exactly where I was supposed to be in my life, and this was what I was supposed to be doing.
And you didn't just want to take the classes and improve your body. You wanted to get to the point where you could teach and then eventually own your own business doing it, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
So tell me about the difference between, aside from the obvious, the regular yoga and hot yoga, and what are the benefits of it, besides obviously just opening up your pores and
yeah. Yeah, it starts out warming up the body, detoxifying, opening up the pores and detoxifying the skin, but also allowing you to safely get into your postures by warming up the muscle fibers.
Right, so you can bend easier a little bit, right?
Yeah, so you can bend easier, and a lot of the postures at the end of the class are tourniquet effect postures, for lack of a better, restricting blood flow so that you can then release the blood flow into those particular tissues, organs, and cells. So by being able to create more compression, then you're able to create more blood flow afterwards.
If that's the better way, then why doesn't everybody do the hot yoga?
It's a great question.
You know?
It's people all, we're very stuck in our comfort zones.
That's true.
People, gravitate towards different things. Some people love Bikram yoga, some people love hot yoga, some people love the more flowy yoga to music, and they all have different things.
Sort of create a mood in the studio.
Create a mood, yeah. The thing about Bikram yoga, and that separates it apart from everything else, it's the only activity where you touch every single muscle fiber, organ, tissue, and cell, tendon in your body through one practice. Like running and swimming and hiking or biking are all great activities, but when you think about them, they're all 10, 20, 30% body activities. Only certain parts of your body benefit from certain
And your
things.
muscles will start to get used to that after a while if you keep doing it, and then the benefit becomes lessened after a while.
It becomes lessened, but and then some of those activities, like runners keep yoga studios in business. Runners are addicts. Runners are hardcore.
They are.
And they're awesome. But you go through years and years of that pounding, all that pressure on their joints and everything else. Now you need to come up with something that they don't want to quit running. They want to figure out what they can do to enable them to continue running.
Yeah.
And this is where the yoga comes in. I have Ironman athletes that'll tell you it's the hardest thing they've ever done in their life, but they'll also tell you, it'll take 10% off your time. And when you think in the terms of a 13, 14-hour triathlon, what's 10%? That's a lot.
Is it tougher than your basic training that you went through? That's a tough question.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Basic training was over a long period of time.
What, 8 weeks? Is that what?
Yeah, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
We went through, but actually teacher training for Bikram yoga was 9 weeks.
Oh.
And that was all, you were locked in there too. It was in the bubble and lots of classes. So
Bikram,
Yeah.
is that different than hot yoga, or are they the same?
Bikram's the original hot yoga, and it comes from those original hatha yoga postures that I told you about. And then there's lots of variations that folks in the West have created.
Kind of customized it a little bit, tailored it
a little bit. Yeah. It's pretty pure in how it's done. Bikram yoga is all dialogue driven. The teacher stands up in front of the room and gives direction on postures and gives corrections to the students as they go. And it's always the same sequence. It's always the same breathing exercises, and you get deeper as you go. So you know what to expect in regards to what's going to happen in class. You don't know what your body's going to give you when you're in there, but you know what's coming each time you walk in.
I had a chiropractor recommend yoga, so even he thinks it's a good idea. And those guys, they manipulate your body and your spine in a different way, but they understand the benefits of yoga in general, whether it's hot yoga or not. And I think that's what he was messing around with. Let's take a break and come back. I want you to give out a website for people to go and learn more, and then we'll get back into it. Okay?
Sounds great.
All right. What's your website?
BengalTigerHotYoga.com.
Simple as that. We'll put a graphic up on the screen too.
Yeah.
Rob Saunders, he's going to not bend me or anything because that's not possible, but we'll take a short break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay right there. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Ram Saunders, Bengal Tire Hot Yoga. It's a Bikram studio in Colchester. Hope you get a chance to get out there and just try it out sometime. One of the things I want to touch on in this segment is the misconception about yoga and hot yoga and Bikram in general, because people would have a tendency to think, well, it's yoga. Probably mostly women are in the class, and that's not necessarily the case at all, is it?
No, not even remotely the case. One of the drawing points to my studio, I think, has been that, you know, being a former veteran, being a male, you know, in his 50s.
You're setting an example.
I don't fit the stereotype.
Right.
So we actually have, you know, I have traveling teachers that come and they work for me and they teach for me, and they'll say there's more men in this studio than any other studio I've ever taught at. And I think that lends itself to it because they see that a regular guy does it, you know, and I'm as regular as it gets. And so that gets them kind of to think, well,
if he can do it.
Yeah, if he can do it, I can totally do it.
I'm not embarrassed at all.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. But I mean, it's all walks of life, and it's people with all different kinds of issues. You know, it's you know, I have cancer patients. I have people with Parkinson's disease. I have people that have had joint replacements. People missing, you know, fingers and things like that. I mean, you don't have to be a perfect physical specimen to take yoga. Actually, everything you can think of for not taking yoga is probably the reason you should come in.
Right. Instead of saying, well, I can't because, no. Because is the reason you should come in.
Exactly.
Bad back or whatever it is, like
Absolutely.
you said, come on in. And again, you're going at your own pace anyway,
You're
right?
going at your own pace, and we work with everybody. One of the nice things, or the pure things about our yoga is we don't use any props. There's no straps. There's no pads.
You're not hanging upside down.
You're not hanging upside down. But on a case-by-case basis, we're all certified and trained to work with your specific body. So you come in and you say, hey, I just had shoulder surgery, or I've had a knee replacement, or this or that. And then we work with you specifically through your class to help you use your body to return your body back to normal range of motion.
How big are your classes? Like, is it small enough where you can make sure you hit every student, especially in the beginning where their posture might not be correct? Is a class small enough where they can get personal attention?
It varies depending on time of day. You know, we have 6 a.m. classes that might have 10, 12, 15 people in them.
Before work, yeah.
Yeah, before work. I have after school, after work classes, 4:30, 6:30, 5:30, depending on the day of the week. You know, some classes have 10 people, some classes have 25 people, some classes have 5 people. But we're a very close-knit family. We work with everybody individually. It's an awesome family we've built in Colchester.
You talked about the types of students in your class as far as you know, something maybe a disability or something along those lines. Well, how about like age difference? How young do they go? How old do they go?
Yeah. My youngest daughter is 10. She practices regularly.
Can we count her though, because she's the daughter of the owner?
No.
So, you know, yeah.
Yeah, she'd want you to count her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But no. There's other students that bring their children with them. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I have people well into their 70s that come and take class. I've taught classes in other studios with people in their 80s. You're never too old to start. You're never too broken. That's one of the Bikram phrases, to start from scratch once again. All you got to do is decide you're going to walk in the door, and I guarantee you, in some way, shape, or form, you will start to feel better almost immediately.
By the way, side note, your 13-year-old daughter's dad was a Gulf War hero veteran, so boys are never going to even mess around with her at all because of you. They'll be too scared.
Yeah,
you know?
they're pretty savvy kids.
They're slick.
They do all right, and yeah, they love their dad, and I'm very blessed.
So you started out that one class, it hurt like heck, but you liked it, and you kept going and you kept improving, and you got to a point where you really became sophisticated at it, maybe even an expert. Okay, so it's one thing to learn as much as you can as a student, but then how much more after that when you decided you wanted to teach and then eventually own, like that training course to become an instructor? What was that like? I know it was like, what, 9 weeks?
9 weeks.
Yeah,
it was.
Were there things that you learned doing that you didn't even learn in your class?
Oh, yeah.
When you were a student?
Yeah. You learn the dialogue. You know how to get the students safely in and out of the postures. You learn anatomy. You learn about the bodies. You learn about Indian culture, Indian lifestyle. You practice the yoga 11 times a week. Each class at least 90 minutes long in the hot room with over 400 other students from all over the world.
Is that a typical class, about 90 minutes?
They're all 90 minutes with me. When you're there and when you're going through training, sometimes they were a little bit longer, but you know, it was all good and it was all for the better. But yeah, you know, it never stops. You never stop learning.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're right. It's an ongoing process,
yeah,
right?
You get new bodies in the room. You work with new bodies. You see new things. Even taking class, I'm always learning new things. That's the beauty of it, you know.
We talked a lot about the physical aspects of it, but I want to get more into the mental aspect of it, like you know, going through meditation. Tell me about that process and what people do and have to do.
The process is, you know, I always joke with the students that I'm always talking in the room. It's dialogue driven. It's kind of like Simon says in there. I'm guiding you through the postures. I'm giving certain people individual corrections as we go. Bring your hip more forward, arms back a little bit more, whatever the case may be.
Are you yelling at anybody in there?
No.
Okay,
no.
all right. So you're a good guy.
Yeah,
you're a nice
yeah.
guy.
So really it comes from within you. When you go in there and you start to suffer and you're having a hard time and you start to breathe heavy, your brain starts to distract you a little bit. You call it the monkey mind. Your brain's like, yeah, let's focus on readjusting our mat on the floor now, or now's a good time to, I don't know, maybe start thinking about what I'm doing after class. And we encourage you to work with those things, work with the monkey mind, and keep reeling it back in and focusing on your breath. So work on your stillness. Try not to fidget. Look in the mirror. Breathe in and out through your nose. Even if you're taking a break, while everybody else is doing the posture, just be still and breathe. If you need to kneel down, then kneel down and breathe. Keep looking in the mirror. If you need to lay down, lay down. Keep your eyes open. Just breathe. And when you're ready to get back in, you jump in. There's no judgment there. I've been teaching for 4 years now. I've been taking classes for 5 years. I still lay down during class, or I kneel down or take a break. You work through those things. And as you go, your stillness increases, your focus increases. But it's a never-ending process. You get those little moments of clarity, of clean slate, if you will, where it's just, you get all that stuff out of your head, for a little while so that you can start from scratch again.
Do you have other family members that are instructors also, or other employees that are instructors, or are you the only instructor there?
I have 3 other teachers that are all certified that teach with me. Yeah.
So you teach multiple classes, right?
I do.
And somehow you have to also run the business too. So how do you balance everything?
Just like everybody else. Yeah. You teach when you teach, and you market when you market, and you juggle when you juggle. And my daughters come with me to class sometimes and do their homework because we're trying to get from point A to point B.
Right. But other times they don't want to be bothered with it.
Other times they don't want to be bothered with
kids,
it. Yeah, Dad, I think I'm going to stay home today and sleep. And it's like, okay, hon, that's fine.
But they have a dad who, more so than maybe some other parents, if they just wanted to play video games, you'd be more apt to say, come on, work your body and your mind, come into the studio,
Yeah, and they're really good about it. They, my oldest daughter last year, they had a flexibility test in her school, and she's a big kid for her age, 13 years old. She's 5'8",
wow.
And she's like, she came into the car, and it was the first time she appreciated the yoga. She goes, Dad, in all of school, I'm the second most flexible kid. And she goes, but then I made the comment that my dad's 52 and he's more flexible than I am. So
I'm just shocked that there's someone more flexible than the daughter of a yoga instructor. So
yeah.
So let's talk about if someone has been watching the show and they're interested in partaking in some of the activities. What do they have to do? What do they have to bring? Does everybody need their own mat? Is that how it works? No?
Most of the studios, Bikram studios, there's at least 10 or 12 of them in Connecticut. All of them have mats that are there for rental. A lot of them on your first class, they'll let you use one for free until you decide what you want to buy, get your own.
But once you get into it, everybody has their own, because everybody rolls in with their mat rolled up. I mean, that's a big deal. You know?
And in hot yoga and Bikram yoga, you have your mat, and then you want a towel that's virtually the size of your mat to lay down over it, so you can catch all the sweat.
Yeah, because you will be sweating.
Because you will be sweating, you will be detoxifying in there, and then just whatever your hydration beverage of choice is.
All right, you just bring your bottle with you then,
too. Bring your bottle with you, and all the studios, they have beverages for you to buy there if you want, and even towels to rent. So all you need to really think about is just walking in the door.
Do some places have shower, locker room facilities?
Yeah, some have showers and locker rooms, yeah.
All right, so it's easy to start. It's not expensive either, right?
Yeah, all of them offer some sort of introduction for new people coming in. That's a great deal. Mine is come as many times as you want in 2 weeks for $20 plus tax. And once you get those classes in, and then you talk to me and say, hey, I'm thinking about coming twice a week or 3 times a week or 4 times a week, then we figure out what's going to be most conducive for you. We have everything from class cards to auto pays by the month to yearly unlimited memberships. We try to make the yoga as affordable as possible for everybody because we want you in the room first and foremost.
What's the physical address of your place in Colchester?
It's 119 South Main Street in Colchester, which is behind the CVS Plaza. For people that are familiar, you'll pull into the CVS parking lot and you'll see my sign, but you won't see my place. So you have to drive around the building, and there's a big orange awning on there that says Bengal Tiger Hot Yoga on it.
Sounds good. All right, try some hot yoga, some Bikram, right?
Bikram, yes, sir.
Bikram yoga. Ram Saunders, pleasure having you on the show. I'll have you give out the website one more time so people can go and learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's BengalTigerHotYoga.com, and you can Also, like us on our Facebook page,
which
Bengal
I'm sure you
Tiger
can get
Hot
through.
Yoga.
You can get through the website. You could
You
probably
can get
click
through
on
the
the
website.
links.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So go check it out. Ram Saunders, we learned a lot today. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You can see this show, by the way, on our YouTube site along with many others. Until next time, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Take care.